Hello everyone, if you're watching this video, that means that you are interested in getting wealthy one day, and you probably have to learn the language of wealth. So, the language of wealth is actual numbers, right? Because that's how we measure that part of people's lives. So when it comes to financial wealth, they have to understand how numbers work, and accounting is one way to kind of handle that language. So if you don't really understand the language of numbers and you don't really understand accounting, then it's going to be very hard to play at that game, because wealth at the end of the day is just a game for many people. So I was kind of thinking before this video, hey, how can I actually drive this point home? So what is another industry that has very specific language? So I actually started searching, and I found out that, like, for instance, doctors, they have their own language. And if you were to think about it, if you can't communicate with other doctors, that means you couldn't work at a hospital. That means you can't really help patients out. That means you can't really communicate with other doctors, which means you can actually have a very hard time doing it. So I was kind of looking at some funny language, and I found out over here the word Gomer, as you can see here, G-O-M-E-R. What if a doctor says, Gomer, Gomer, Gomer? What the hell does that even mean? Like, why are you yelling at me, Gomer? Like, if you can't communicate, that means there is no relationship. There is no way that we can kind of move forward. And when I found out what Gomer was, Gomer meant, get out of my emergency room. Pretty simple, right? And pretty funny. So, same type of thing when it comes to actual a language of wealth. So when it comes to the financial side of wealth, you have to understand how the whole numbers things work. So what are the different things that you're going to have to understand? Net worth. So let's talk about net worth. What does net worth actually mean? So net worth is what somebody is actually worth on paper financially. So the formula for net worth is going to be how many assets you have, not including your home, not including the home that you live in, minus any liabilities that you have, and whatever numbers left over, that's going to be considered your net worth. If you don't really understand something simple like that on net worth statement, in that case, you can't really play on that game of wealth, simply because if a doctor said Gomer, and you're like, okay, I don't know who a Gomer is, and they're trying to tell you, get out of my emergency room, that's a completely different thing, right? So same type of thing when it comes to finances. So if getting wealthy one day is what your goal is, you have to start understanding what the language of wealth actually is. Same thing if becoming a doctor one day is your goal, you have to understand the language of being a doctor, because that's the difference between you becoming a doctor and not becoming a doctor at all. Same thing, the difference between becoming wealthy and not becoming wealthy is how you actually understand wealth. So for instance, let's talk about this net worth thing. So if you have 100 units on the asset side and you have 50 units on the liability side, that means you have a 50 unit net worth. Now, what most Americans actually do, because of credit card debt and the debt that they're in, they actually have 50 units of asset side. Maybe they have a car that's paid for or something like that, right? And then they have 100 units that is a liability side, which means that their net worth is actually negative 50. Which means it makes it a lot more complicated to actually get wealthy if it's like that. But if you don't even understand that language, you're not even going to start making that calculation. So if you really understand it, that's going to be the first step of being wealthy. Step number one of any travel, of any journey, is going to be, where are you today? So if the goal is to become wealthy one day and you want to understand the language of wealth, let's start off with that net worth statement, right? How much money, how many assets do you have? And assets, not including your personal house, is going to be things that are actively giving you money, actively that people also have value to. How many liabilities do you have? What's your credit card bill statement look like? What does all that stuff look like? And then from there is going to be your net worth, whatever's there. That's your starting point. No matter how big, how small that number is, it's okay, because that's not where we're going to end if that's your goal. Your goal is to make sure that you get that number higher, and if that is your true goal, in that case, you want to make sure that you're moving it in the right direction, but you have to know where you're starting. Before you actually start talking about the net worth statement itself, most people have to start talking about the income statement, which is another language of wealth, right? Another term. So your income statement, or your P&L is another way to say it, is going to be how much money you come in, how much money you put out, and whatever's left over is considered profit. So when it comes to your income statement, every business out there should be having and running a P&L, or an income statement itself, right? Profit and loss statement. You as a personal individual should also be running one as well. How much money you're actually bringing in, how much money are you actually spending on a monthly basis, and how much money is left over. Because before you can actually build any net worth, you have to start fixing your P&L statement. which means that you want to make sure that you have more money coming in than you have going out, which means you have profit left over. And with those profits, then you can start investing into your net worth statement, and you can start building assets to start increasing your net worth. But step one of getting wealthy is understanding the language behind it, so you can understand the strategy. Because if all of a sudden I said, hey, to get wealthy, you're going to need X amount more profit, you're going to need to have this type of margin, so then your net worth goes from X to Y, right? If you don't even understand that language, it makes it much more difficult to actually play the game. So that's pretty much what this video is about. It's about understanding the language of financing and understanding the language of wealth. You do not have to become an accountant for this stuff. It's very, very simple. What we just talked about right now, that's pretty much the basics that most people have no idea what it's about, right? So what did we talk about? We talked about income, we talked about expenses, we talked about profit. We also talked about assets, we talked about liabilities, and we talked about net worth at the end. So if you just focus on those words itself and use a dictionary if you don't understand the wording that I used, but that could definitely help you out moving forward on how to understand this wealth game and how to understand the ability to grow financially. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. If you want to just watch more of our videos now, click on any of these right over here, or if you want to learn more about how we help people grow every single day, click on the link to learn more. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.